remain in custody. We'll see what happens. We just spoke to
Have
different
they?
legal
They
experts that
well,
have
well,
very
nah, this
close
is Bond. I wonder
observation.
when they'll
Also,
tell us when
their
sentencing
opinions
is.
based on their experience in some of these courtrooms inside
Ron
some of
Gosford,
the
what's good,
systems.
man?
We spoke to Ben Taylor, a lawyer, last night, potentially about the fact that if he does get released,
They
today
sentenced
or
him
out
already,
on
put
bail,
15
then
years
he
on
will just
probation and
be
banned him
at
from
time served.
well
That means
slash
he will
baby
not have
oil
to
and
return
red
into the
balls
country
and with
for
a rope
himself
connected.
in one
Damn.
more time. We'll see if that is the case. There are several different options as this is just what we're watching unfold. But this will happen in sentencing. If it does happen, will not begin until September, October, or November. Again, let's dive back to
September,
Fox 5
September,
team.
October, November is how long
Let's listen into this.
the actual sentencing will be. September, October, November. So yeah, he gonna have to sit in there for a long ass time. Personally, I'm blocking it. Personally, guys, right? On an actual like thought process, I think that he should be able to get off with bail, based upon the actual, just the court, nothing personal. I know I'm saying personally, but I'm saying, let me speak. When I say personally, I mean like on a just non-biased. Racketeering, like all those other charges, you put him in there, but prostitution, traveling prostitution, like I just don't feel like that's a charge. He was not found guilty on the other one, so you can't say he's, you can't put those things on him. But like transportation of prostitution is not a charge that I feel like is worth him being held in until it's time. That's what I'm saying, Doug. Anyone caught with that would charge would be able to. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. Like prostitution. If you buy a prostitute and get arrested and go to jail, you're going to do time. Maybe not even do time. You probably get fined and like probation. But the difference, of course, is the transportation part. And when you do the transportation part, if you buy a escort in New York and fly her out to Texas, that's where that the cross state lines is when it becomes federal. But it's just like, I hate to say it that way, but like, bro, everybody do that shit. A lot of these people be doing that shit. Not saying I do it. I'm just saying a lot of motherfuckers be flying these hoes out, paying these hoes, really.
Talking about what he has and some of the similarities between the Harvey Weinstein cases. They came back with that partial verdict. Now split.
That's what I think, Ron. I think that too, Ron Gosford. I think, but then like I think Dub was saying, whatever they give him, he's gonna have to do 85% of it. So they can't give the man 5 years, because if he had 5 years, he's gonna have to do, what, at least 3 of that. Really, probably what, 4, close to 4. So I'm honestly thinking they're gonna give him like a year probation, a year in prison, and then maybe 4 years probation or some shit. Like he'll get 5 years, but 5 years, you've been sentenced to 5 years. One of those years in behind bars, the other 4 years in probation or some shit like that.
Guilty verdict, a acquittal for the music mogul. It was an emotional release for him, as these were the scenes. These were the sketches inside of the courthouse. You can see there.
And even someone said, like, you gotta be honest, like, knowing Trump, he might pardon Diddy, bro. He might pardon that nigga Diddy off some prostitution.
So we're just still watching and waiting here. They're outside of the courtroom.
He might pardon that nigga. That ain't, like I said, like, we know, like, obviously Diddy put hands on her. He did a whole bunch of crazy shit. Diddy's a sexual deviant. But we gotta go. It ain't about if you innocent. Like, you could be not guilty and still be not innocent. You can be innocent and guilty in a way, or it don't really, those two things are not as hand in hand as you think. And what I'm saying is, based upon just legal law, he's not guilty on 2 bad crimes. He's guilty on a more lesser crime. And that lesser crime is not a crime that's like, I don't know. Yeah, Steve, I'm saying, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
development now. The judge asking both sides to submit letters arguing for and against his
Definitely would think he would definitely think he would have did that if he had a second term. He's already on his second term, but I could see, you know, him like doing that to get Diddy to, like, you know, be a puppet for him.
And this morning, Diddy was found not guilty of racketeering, conspircy, and 2 counts of
Okay, it's 504. Combs lawyers, Agnifilo, Shapiro, and Terry Gargis emerged from the holding cell waiting on Sean Combs to be brought into the courtroom by U.S. Marshals.
So let's get right over to Lisa Evers, who's been outside the courthouse all morning long into this evening. Lisa, what are you hearing?
Well, Bianca, Natasha, just think about this. That verdict came out early this morning, and Sean Diddy Combs has been in a holding pen the entire day waiting for this whole issue to be resolved. Instead of resolving that bail question right after the verdict was read, the prosecutors asked for several more hours in order to try and put their position together, which their position being they want to keep Sean Diddy Combs behind bars, even though he was cleared of the 2 most serious charges.
The thing is, this is also more so in their favor, in my opinion, because, like, bruh, like, let's put it this way. Diddy, if I'm the defense, like, listen, bruh, Diddy's not guilty on 2 crimes that would have put him in jail. You have a man that was facing life behind bars. You have a man that was in fear of his life that pretty much got a second chance. You think this man is going to do anything else to risk himself going back behind bars again? This man is not about to play with nothing. People were saying, like, or Cassie saying he gonna hurt her. Bro, that man ain't finna do nothing to that lady. That man don't want no smoke right now. He just got off on one of the biggest cases of all time. From the feds, too. This man ain't finna do none of that. Mr. Chop Top, the thing is, bro, they charged Diddy with the wrong charges, bro. You know, did they charge him with arson? Well, they couldn't prove that either, right? They charged him with the wrong stuff, but at the same time, for it to be a Fed case, you got to have Fed charges, right? Okay, 509. Sean Combs has been brought in, sits next to Terry Gregory's reading. Byron wants to walk over to the lectern and back over to the seat. Prosecutors are in place at the front table waiting for the judge. All right, guys, so this guy is like, he's the guy, bro. He's the guy that breaks everything in reality. He broke this shit last time because I saw him tweet it, and then I was seeing live Law and Crime, all them pretty much reading off his tweets. As soon as this man tweets, bro, that's when we gonna know. The news channels, all of them they got this man on lockdown. I wonder if he's in there or if he's getting information. The only reason why I'm saying is because you can't have no cell phone in no courtroom like that texting. Tony, he will get revenge 100%. That's his ego. That's what 1090 Jake was saying. But I don't think he's going to get revenge by killing anybody. Will he be sabotaging, blackmailing, probably trying to do weird shit like that? Possibly. Yeah, I want to see him come out with that gray hair. But then again, Diddy might come out with like umbrellas on and they covering his head, his face, and everything. I don't think Diddy gonna let us see him like that.
Maybe a regular prison, I shouldn't say regular, but another detainee with a similar conviction would be not asked.
I think a regular detainee with a similar conviction would not have to have an ankle bracelet with 24/7 monitoring by security. Handing your passport, defense counsel already has that. Stay in certain venues, drug tests. Don't leave New York or Florida where you reside. Post bond if you need to, in terms of the $1 million. That's being asked by the defense. Those are reasonable things to ask. Is he going to return to court? Yes. If you have evidence that he makes a threat, you put him back in.
And then you've tried many big cases. What role does his family presence have? It's been very strong, very consistent, especially this last final week. His mother's been there every single day. He said his 85-year-old mother is one of the defense application. He needs to be the main caretaker for his 85.
I understand that, Kicks, but you don't think that that man knows right now that people are watching him? Like, in my brain, I'm thinking like, bro, I'm not doing shit. If Cassie get hurt while I'm out on bail, like, bro, the first person they gonna look at is me. You don't think he thinking that? Ain't none of them people didn't. Nah, that ain't smart of him.
Obviously, someone else has been doing it. Let's not overstate, but let's also be very clear. They showed their support. They're available for him. They're going to ensure.
Hell was that?
They offered one of the bail packages previously that was denied.
Salute to Andrew in the building.
$50 million. Do you think this is going to be? We're going to be in the 7 figures.
Buddy got the paper cut and string. Who?
It's either going to be release him, or subject to certain conditions, or it's going to be much.
What's good, Andrew?
In terms of what that dollar amount is, there's no reason if it was that high or higher when you're talking about violent, ugly crimes, they don't exist.
I appreciate you, man. 7. Wait, he's gifted 1, so there's gifted total of. Damn, you gifted 61 on the channel. 61 subs you've donated, Andrew. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much for being with us. And again, if you're
oh, you got the. That's what I'm saying, bro. He got a nigga on the inside or something.
Go back to the Metropolitan Detention Center that has been named by numerous prison watch groups as one of the worst in the United States in terms of conditions, or whether he'll be in a much more comfortable setting.
Yo, wait. What's going on, Bucks? Man, good time. J Rio, what's good?
Was released. Anyway, that's the latest here from federal court. Natasha and Bianca, back to you in the studio.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much. Keep watching Fox 5 for continuing
D.
coverage
Jones,
of
what's
this
good?
breaking Diddy verdict. We're going to have more legal analysis coming up.
All right, it appears they're going away.
Turtle, what's good? Turtle, Dick Barry.
Live now from Fox, but this is what we're sticking with. You can see the live picture.
I'm pretty sure they are scared. The only thing is, though, you know, Diddy got money where he can make that shit happen even when he locked up, though, right? I mean,
5 p.m. hearing here on Live Now from Fox, a live picture. You can see
Andrew, that man sitting out there listening.
Transport area.
I don't know. I want to know what he doing, like how he do this.
You heard some of the conditions there that might be laid out for this case.
But I think he be in there, Andrew. I just think, is he walking in and out? Like, what the fuck is he doing?
The verdict coming down today. We'll see if he remains at that MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, or is released on this bail, heading home.
Wait, Andrew, you got a Jeep now?
New York.
You might have told me you got one before. My bad, because I remember you had the Silverado at one point.
You can see plenty of supporters there out right now here on Live Now.
You said Jeep Trail.
Wait any sort of decision. So we're also getting new information. We're hearing.
I appreciate that, man. Rena had popped up not that long ago too.
Prosecution talking about her bravery to come forward to really start this whole investigation, and then of course this lawsuit that we've detailed very closely. This
KC World, what's good, brother?
Also from Douglas Wigder, the attorney for Cassie.
Gone bananas badge in this bit.
Sean Diddy Combs released from federal custody, saying Miss Ventura believes that Mr. Combs is likely to pose a danger to the victims.
This is what she's saying.
In this case, including herself, as well as to the community. So you're hearing there from the attorneys on the ground about some of that status and the danger to the community, danger to potentially her, Cassie Ventura, the ex-girlfriend, also a community. But he was also just acquitted on those two major counts, those 3 counts, 2 different charges, one for sex trafficking and the other for racketeering. So there's also concern about witness tampering and intimidation of different witnesses. And as the verdict always come in, that point is somewhat not important, not relevant anymore. So we're watching this here on Live Now from Fox. Let's take you back out to our Fox 5 team as they continue to discuss
I think
story.
Lisa summed it up pretty well in what she was talking about. What I was told to describe is how things are out here. There's an immediate sense of elation or celebration out here once that verdict was read. This has been a very pro-friendly, pro-Sean Combs crowd. during this entire trial, really, and even during the last 10 days when we've had some of the hottest days on record for the year so far. Let's have a listen in on what it sounded like outside the courthouse when Sean Diddy Combs' mother emerged after the verdict was rendered.
Did we break the story?
We saw her blowing kisses to people and other people cheering them on. Now, not only has she been coming to court, as Lisa had just said, but his family, his sons have been coming. Short time separate from that, we saw out of the back entrance of this federal courthouse, the federal the jurors. Hey, you know what? Tell me what it is that's going on right now, guys. Who's yelling at me? This is breaking news right now. Let's come back on camera for this, and let's bring in Lisa Evers here. We're learning right now, Lisa, that apparently bond has been denied.
Okay,
well, I don't know if that's getting it. Let's use this one.
Let's get Jeremy here.
Yeah, Jeremy, can you come back in here when you get a moment? So what we had been positioned for was an argument that because the jury found Sean Diddy Combs guilty only on the lesser of the charges, that there was a presumption that he might be able to go home. The judge even asked him at one point, I imagine you don't want to go back to MDC. He nodded vigorously. Right? Let's use this microphone. I'm not sure if that one works. And Jeremy, if you'll come in here too. Should we start with Jeremy's reaction?
Jeremy Salland is with us. He's a criminal defense attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor. And the bail, the news is that bail has been denied.
Yeah, that the judge.
So there is the law, the statute says in substance that bail would be denied, meaning that he goes in and stays in. There's not an exception. For example, there could be an exception where the prosecution says we consent, and there's other pieces to it as well. There could be a danger to somebody or not, but the bail being kept as it is not necessarily atypical because of the law, though one would believe the fact that he was not convicted of the top charge, and it's been a reduction, and people do walk free and come back and are ROR'd.
Well, keeping the bail as it is means there's no bail.
Right. So he's remanded, he's held without bail. So this doesn't change the potential sentence, obviously, because it's still up to 10 years, but for the immediate gratification purposes of getting out, doing what he needs to do, and fighting this from the outside in terms of preparing for that sentencing, now it's been stripped.
And let me just add, this morning the prosecution was very adamant about wanting to have this extra time to present their argument to the judge, and seemed obviously they were disappointed with the verdict. It was very visible and very obvious, but they wanted to keep him behind bars, and they said, Your Honor, we need several hours to really get this whole argument together for you, and that's pretty stunning.
But again, I think you have to go back to what the law is and what it allows for, and generally speaking, barring some exception, the Bail Reform Act says you're staying, you're not just getting released. He was convicted of a crime. I think people, rightfully so, are disappointed and have questions from the public's perspective when you have such a horrific allegation that is not proven or substantiated beyond a reasonable doubt, and summarily, we're not talking about on the cusp. That's a pretty quick verdict that I think fooled many people, thinking that there might have been a sex trafficking conviction. He's walking scot-free in terms of any allegation of coercion, force, fraud, violence, but he's still in custody.
Okay, so Jeremy, what about? Can we just ask Jeremy, was it a difficult decision for the judge legally?
I think the judge is, no, I think the judge is not finding any exception in following the law, and that's why he's staying there. The hope from the prosecution, though they didn't, the defense, though they didn't raise it specifically in their letter to the court, was that, yes, there may be the Bail Reform Act, and that was what the prosecution relied on, said statutorily, you can't just let him walk. The prosecution was hoping, the defense was hoping that the judge would look past that and say, he's returned, he just shows that he can follow the court order, he's not going to flee, and he's not a danger to anyone specifically or the community at large.
And then let me ask you this, in terms of the appealing this decision, what's the process now that the defense will have to go through in order to appeal the judge's decision of no bail?
I would expect that he's not going anywhere anytime soon, appeal or not. I think that they're going to follow the judge. I haven't heard what the judge said, so it's hard for me to just speak on an island here, but based on the law as we know it, I think the judge has ample ground to stand on and make this decision.
Let me answer that. Our Sharon Crowley has been watching this and telling us right now the judge says that the government was correct that the detention is mandatory for a Mann Act conviction, what you're indicating, and the judge said that the limited exception to mandatory detention was not met. Sean Combs pointed to his duties as a father and a son, which we talked about, but that does not rise to the level of an appropriate exception, according to the judge.
Right, and to my point moments ago, That's what the law is. But we like to think that from the outside looking in, when someone has been charged with such egregious and horrible acts, and a jury of your peers says no so quickly, there should be a means to say you should be free. But there still is a conviction. The Mann Act qualifies. He's in custody. Whether that's a sign of the judge saying I'm going to harshly sentence him or not, we can't say. But let's not read into it. The judge is simply following the law, and this warrant does not warrant that 10 years that you're hearing about for each of the counts for Jane
and then Jeremy.
So from what I'm reading right here too, is saying, okay, the bail's denied the Sean Diddy Combs, SDN, the judge citing the conviction today on transportation of prostitution charges, inner city press. So basically, the bail is denied based off of the conviction of the transportation for prostitution. That's it. Not because they're holding on to him basically because of that guilty verdict, not because he was the other two. They don't care. Focused is mainly on that one. He's not getting bail. Even if the defendant was solely required to show that he is not a danger to the community, he could not meet that burden. So basically, they're saying even if it was if the only thing that Diddy had to show to the court to get released from bail was that he was not a danger to the community, he was unable to do that. He could not prove that he was not a danger to the community. And so that's one thing. So if Diddy could show he was not a danger to the community, then he could be released. That's what they're trying to say. But he couldn't show that, which we'll talk about a little bit. But with that said, along with that, prior to the trial, the court already had said that they were going to deny bail and sees no reason to reverse that now. The defense conceded the defendant's violence. The defense conceded to the defendant's violence, meaning that the defense also conceded to the fact that the defendant is violent. So he could not prove that he was a danger, that he was not a danger to the community. Number one, he couldn't prove that. And number two, the defense even conceded that they could not prove that. They are admitting that he is a danger to the community, along with the fact that the court is already denied bail prior to this. So those are two reasonings why the bail is denied. His violence is depicted if you want to know why it's violence, his violence was depicted in the video of Cassie Ventura. The defense admitted this was a terrible moment. Domestic violence is the issue, and it is what she said. It wasn't only that. There was the London hotel incident. So that is mainly why they would not let him go, because he is a danger to the community for the fact that he put his hands on her. There was violence after the searches in this case. As to Jane, there was June 2024. After the searches of Combs' residence, there was evidence of disregard for the law and propensity for violence. I don't know if I can say that word. Yep. The court takes no position on what we'll consider at sentencing, nor what sentencing will impose. But here, the burden is on him, and he cannot carry it. The defense argues the guideline starts at 21 months. The U.S. says 51 months. He done 10 months. The court has no position on what it will consider at sentencing, nor what sentence it will impose. But here the burden is on him, and he cannot carry it. The defense argues the guideline starts at 21 months. The U.S. says 51 months. He's done 10 months. So I'm guessing they're talking about the time of that crime. So 21 months is 1.75, so almost 2 years. Is that I'm guessing that's the minimum for this. The defense argues the guideline. I guess they're saying the defense wants them to do 21 months for that. But the U.S., the prosecution, says 51 months. I'm guessing they want, so they're saying they want them to do 4.5. We could be wrong here. I could be talking on my ass, but it seems like, because they're saying that the court will take no position on what they will consider sentencing nor what they will impose. They're saying that right now that's for sentencing, not for now. But the burden is on him, and he cannot carry it. The defense argues a guideline starts at 21 months. The U.S. says 51 months. He's done 10 months, meaning he's been in jail for 10 months. The defense wants 21, but the U.S. says 51. Starting, so at least 4.20. Is that what we're getting with, chat?
guidelines for the Mann Act as the decision came after the jury convicted Combs of
all these motherfuckers here just want to see Diddy.
Prostitution-related offenses, but acquitted him on the more serious sex trafficking and racketeering charges. The Grammy-winning music mogul carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison, but juries cleared him on charges that could have put him.
They're saying that he didn't show it, like meaning like, the defendant was solely required to show that he is not a danger to the community. He could not meet that burden, meaning that even if, meaning that it's not. So the first thing is that the court already has stated they denied bail for him. So that was already down. They would have to reverse that. But even if that was not the case and it was solely based upon him being a danger to the community, he's unable to prove that he is not a danger to the community, because he has already shown he's a danger to the community based upon the video of Cassie as well as June 2024 and London hotel incident. So that's what they're saying. Okay, here we go. They just said it. I set sentencing for Friday, October 3rd at 10 a.m. I'm willing to expedite it. Combs, we would like to expedite. We will need an expedite pre-sentencing report from probation, but I will be available anytime. So they're trying to expedite that real quick. All right. They might as well, why wait? So they want to expedite it. There's a great divide on the sentencing guideline. I see that Miss Comney has her statute book open. The rule required to the preparation of a report absent reasoned waiver, probation may be able to expedite. Update me on July 8th at noon.
For prostitution, him on sex trafficking and racketeering.
So it seems like the mixed outcome, the judge did rule that Diddy seems like they want. So it seems like basically they want to. The defense wants 1.2 years, and the prosecution wants at least 4.25.
Deny bail for Diddy.
Well, Bianca, Natasha, first of all, this, I'm sure, was a tremendous disappointment to his mother and to his children and to his other family, and as well as to the supporters that we've seen out here outside of the courthouse. But in terms of the legality of it, according to Attorney Jeremy Sallin, who we've been speaking with this hour, he said that this is fairly standard in terms of a conviction on these prostitution transportation charges, which are the 2 counts that Diddy was found guilty of. Now, what the big argument and the big push to keep him behind bars obviously came from the prosecutors. I'm sure it seemed that they were very upset about the verdict from the jury not getting that RICO case that they had pushed so hard for against the better advice of some in the legal community who didn't think that was appropriate in this particular circumstance. They also lost out on the sex trafficking. That was not guilty. And they said at this morning, the prosecution said, Your Honor, we need several hours to come back and consider bail. Otherwise, they would have just considered the bail, the bail application and the bail situation right there shortly after the verdict was read.